so what she actually wants to be the visionary, like the high-level strategist, the mentor, the cheerleader of her team. She wants to really give every team member a voice and help them to feel tremendously valued in their contributions. And she wants to be in those kind of thought leadership conversations in the industry to keep her fingers on the pulse of what's next, to develop more partnerships with complementary organizations. This is what she wants. This is what she envisions her role to be. She wants to step into. And in order to make that possible, we often have to let go of the parts of the role that have maybe served us in the past, that have allowed us to manage things and have maybe allowed us to survive, allowed the business to survive, but are not for the next season.
Overwhelm, reaction mode, and just keeping up are the old way.
You need real, root-level strategies and practical steps to grow your business or ministry without exhaustion and burnout.
Hi there, we're Anna Saucier
And Megan Gephardt,
best friends and business consultants who help faith-filled women create sustainable growth through simple strategy with a people-first approach.
Here at Apostolic Fruit, we hope to offer you clarity, support, accompaniment, and healing,
one tiny step at a time.
Hello, friend. It's Megan Gephardt, and today we're going to talk about what do you want your role to actually be, and what are you ready to let go of? We find ourselves having this conversation with pretty much every single one of our clients, and so I figured it's time to have it here. And we're going to get practical, and I'm going to challenge you a bit today. The other day, I found myself thinking about this very specific woman that God has called us to serve. Brilliant, very, very faithful, just doing her life's work, and she knows it. Her heart is as big as her vision, and she's been building, and she's really giving birth to something that this world desperately needs. And she's also tired. Not the surface kind of tired where a nap can fix it, but the soul deep kind of tired that comes from years of being faithful to that call, day in, day out, and trying to surrender and keep going and find a moment to breathe in the midst of everything she's carrying. Because it's grown bigger than her, and she's overloaded, and she knows deep down, even if it's hard to admit, that she can't keep doing it like this. But she's also got a bit of hope still in there. Even if it may feel a little bit buried sometimes, and she feels like some days it might be easier to burn it all down. And not really, but sometimes that thought does come. But she's ready for change. And she is hopeful that that's possible. And she needs someone to believe that with her and believe that for her and to help her name what has to shift. But not just what has to shift, but more importantly, how. Maybe that's you today. And if it is, then this exercise is going to be something that'll serve you. One of the most powerful things we did on our Guatemala retreat was guide the women through this very simple but clarifying exercise. And it's, what do I want my role to actually be? And what's no longer serving me? One of our retreat members, I want to give you the example of what this can look and feel like. She's a founder who has experienced rapid growth over this last year or so. Her team is growing. Just the business has exponentially grown. She's been doing this for years and years and has had many cycles of ebbs and flows and many cycles of burnout. And she's really done with that and wants to just have a much more steady, sustainable pace where rest is built in, where it's actually sustainable, where she doesn't have to crash and take a huge sabbatical or a step back until she's finally ready to come back in because she's regained her energy, right? She wants to do it differently. So this woman, just such courageous deep diving and asking all the hard questions and doing the deep work. And I was just so incredibly proud of her through the whole retreat. But she sat with these questions and she filled out this big poster paper, and I think it spoke volumes. And I want to share with you. On one side, she named, this is what I want, like what I actually want. And on the other side, she named what she's ready to let go of. Okay, so what she actually wants to be the visionary, like the high-level strategist, the mentor, the cheerleader of her team, to occasionally roll up her sleeves in a pinch, but not to have that be the expectation by default, to kind of react urgently to things. She wants to be in that role of seeking out the opportunities and identifying and cultivating the new business, right? connecting with new potential clients. She wants to love on her clients even more, to take them out to lunch, to acknowledge and thank them, and really demonstrate kind of an unreasonable hospitality towards her clients. She wants to really give every team member a voice and help them to feel tremendously valued in their contributions. And she wants to be in those kind of thought leadership conversations in the industry to keep her fingers on the pulse of what's next, to develop more partnerships with complementary organizations. This is what she wants. This is what she envisions her role to be. She wants to step into. And in order to make that possible, we often have to let go of the parts of the role that have maybe served us in the past, that have allowed us to manage things and have maybe allowed us to survive, allowed the business to survive, but are not for the next season. And as the organization matures and the mission matures, we have to be willing to let go of some of those. And so for her, the ones that she named, I think these are so relatable, being available at all hours of the day or night, managing all the finances, all the human resources, being a therapist to everyone, being really in the weeds, being the person everyone calls in a crisis, never letting a project fail because she personally caught it herself and bears the cost of that, the fear of losing team members, the fear of hierarchy, especially as it grows, the fear of structure, or winging it and just going off of gut feeling alone and leading in that way. She is ready to let go of those things. She's ready to kind of graduate from them. And we had, there's so many beautiful examples from the different clients, but everyone kind of experienced the same sense of like, okay, I'm ready to put on my big girl pants. And that's what this takes is if you're ready to grow to the next stage, or you're ready to scale, or you're ready for growth to stop feeling so chaotic and actually feel stable while you're growing, then there's probably some threads of this that resonate with you. And you're ready to mature your role and probably start to release some things that you've done in the past that are no longer going to serve the direction things are heading and to serve that bigger vision that's deep within you, right? And so maybe even just hearing this, something is starting to shift. You recognize yourself in this too. So my question to you is, what are you outgrowing that's no longer serving you? And we can look at that with a whole lot of compassion. I want to encourage you to suspend judgment for a moment. It's not these things are all bad, whatever, right? They served you in the past, but you're outgrowing them. And here's also what I know about this. This exercise may sound simple when I say it, and in some ways it is. But actually doing it, like sitting down and taking the time for this, but then also being willing to be honest enough about what you've been tolerating that you don't want to tolerate anymore. Being able to be clear enough to articulate what you really do want moving forward. And then being brave enough to let yourself even speak it out loud and believe that it's possible without censoring yourself because you're afraid of being disappointed, or you don't know how it's going to happen, or you are stuck with all the limitations right now. Like being brave enough to name it anyways. That's a whole different thing. And that can be hard to do alone. And what we see often is just we're constantly reminded of this, and for ourselves as well, right? There are things you can't see when you're just in it. Like you're too close to it to see it. And something like this takes a certain level of courage, but it takes a certain level of permission as well that you have to give yourself to dream, like to actually dream without holding yourself back. And that can feel risky to your nervous system. Your nervous system has a certain threshold right now. And you may notice like you've got a wall you're bumping up against inside the organization or in the mission growth or in the business growth, right? And for your nervous system, like even if you don't like where you're at and you want to go further, or you want to do things differently, you want to reach new goals, it still feels safer to stay where you are because it's known. Even if it sucks, it's known. And the unfamiliar can be scary. And so this is why we do it together. This is the work, and this is why it's helpful to do it with somebody. And I love to do this part with clients, help you get clear on what your role is actually meant to look like in this next season, and then how that serves both you and those you serve and everybody involved in this mission. And that's key because sometimes we can think, oh, is it selfish for me to think about these things? Is it selfish for me to want to let go of some of these things that don't light me up and that really drain me? Or set new boundaries? Is that going to harm other people? But I really want you to wonder, how could this actually be mutually beneficial for everybody that I serve, everybody that we serve, every one of my team members? And so what needs to be released or restructured or handed off? That's also part of this, right? This role redesign and what it's actually meant to look like in the next season and being able to step into that. To design what it's going to take to get there, to help you get clear on what is it going to take to get there practically. If you're ready to have that kind of conversation, we'd love to walk through it with you. So just reach out to us. Book a call with Anna. Share where you're at, what you're experiencing and navigating this season, what you're carrying, and we'll start there. And just a reminder, you don't have to have it figured out before you reach out. You don't have to have all your crap together. You don't even have to know what you're going to say or any of those things before you reach out. The clarity comes in the conversation, and that's really the whole point. Because sometimes we can feel ashamed of the mess or like it's too big or like it's too much. But that's what we're here for. We want to meet you right there in the messiness, in what feels like tangled up knots, and just help you sort through it and help you get clear on your next right steps, help you get clear on what's going to serve you most in this next season, what your organization needs, and what you need to keep moving this thing forward, but in a much more sustainable way. We hope you loved today's episode. If so, would you take a moment to share it with a friend?
If you haven't already, come connect with us human to human at apostolicfruit.com/connect. When you're ready, we'd love to support you more deeply.
May the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you,
and turn his face toward you and give you peace.